You know, if someone had told me when I turned 60 that I could actually feel better in my late 60s than I did in my 50s, honestly, I wouldn't have believed it. But here I am, 68 years old, waking up every day with steady energy, clear mind, and most importantly, keeping diabetes far, far away. And no, I'm not some health guru or fitness fanatic. I'm just someone who realized, a little later in life, that food has the power to either drain you or truly heal you. And what changed my life wasn't cutting everything out. It was learning what to add to my plate every single day. It turns out when you nourish your body with the right foods, simple, real, everyday foods, your body responds. Your energy gets better, your blood sugar stays steady, and you start feeling like yourself again. And no, you don't need complicated diets, fancy powders, or expensive supplements. Just real food that works. That's exactly what I'm going to share in this video. These are the 7 foods I eat every single day at 68 to keep diabetes away. And maybe they can help you too. And if this is helpful for you, consider clicking the like button. It helps more people like us learn how to take care of their health in simple, doable ways. Number 7, oatmeal. If there's one food that became the heart of my mornings, it's oatmeal. Not the instant kind, not the sugary packets, but real, honest rolled oats. It's warm, simple, and deeply satisfying. Years ago, breakfast used to be a stressful moment. I'd wake up already worried about what would happen to my blood sugar, depending on what I ate. Toast left me hungry too soon. Cereal made me feel shaky by mid-morning. But when I started having oatmeal every single day, something started shifting inside me. It felt like giving my body something steady, something reliable, something that truly cared for me. What's funny is that I didn't grow up eating oatmeal. It always looked bland and boring to me. But I gave it a try because I kept hearing people talk about how filling it was. And you know what? They were right. I remember my first week eating it. I expected to be hungry by 10 a.m. like always, but that feeling never came. I felt calm. My stomach was satisfied. My energy didn't jump up and then crash like it used to. I wasn't hunting for snacks before lunch. And honestly, that felt like a small miracle to someone like me who had struggled with constant cravings. My recipe is simple, but it feels special every time. I cook my oats slowly with water or milk, depending on the day. Sometimes I stir in a spoon of cinnamon for flavor, or I top it with fresh berries when they're in season. Other days, I add a few walnuts or a sprinkle of chia seeds for a little crunch. It's not fancy, but it feels like a warm hug in a bowl. There's something about sitting down with that simple meal that reminds me I'm taking care of myself, one small choice at a time. At first, I thought I would get bored. How could the same food every morning stay interesting? But to my surprise, it became something I actually look forward to. It's not just food anymore. It's part of how I tell my body, I've got your back. It's a gentle start to my day, something that doesn't overwhelm my digestion or leave me tired an hour later. And over time, that simple habit started to reflect in how I felt all day long, more steady, more clear-headed, more in control of my choices. Now, no matter where I am, whether at home, traveling, or visiting family, I make sure I have oatmeal nearby. It's become one of those little anchors in my life that I won't let go of. It's cheap, easy, comforting, and most importantly, it works. It's one of those foods that reminds me that eating well doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. And let me tell you, the next food on my list is just as simple, just as powerful, and something I never thought would become such an important part of my daily routine. Number 6, eggs. If someone had told me years ago that eggs would become one of the most important foods in my daily routine, I probably wouldn't have believed them. For a long time, I was actually afraid of eating eggs every day. You probably remember, back in the day, everyone was told that eggs were bad for you. People said they could raise cholesterol or weren't good for the heart. So for years, I limited them, thinking I was doing something smart. But oh, how wrong I was. The truth is, when I started including eggs in my breakfast or lunch every day, everything started to change for the better, not worse. There's something special about eggs. They're simple, natural, affordable, and surprisingly satisfying. I notice that when I have eggs in the morning, whether scrambled, boiled, or sunny side up, I stay full for hours. No more looking for snacks mid-morning. No more strange energy dips before lunch. Just a steady, calm feeling that carries me through the day. And honestly, after years of dealing with energy crashes, foggy thinking, and constant hunger, that's a gift I don't take for granted anymore. Eggs became a quiet little hero on my plate. What I love most about eggs is how versatile they are. Some mornings I fry them gently in a bit of olive oil, letting the edges crisp just a little. Other days I boil 2 eggs, slice them, and sprinkle a bit of pepper on top. Sometimes I make an omelet with some chopped veggies, onions, peppers, maybe a little spinach if I have it. It's never boring. And every time, I feel like I'm giving my body something real. Something that fills me, nourishes me, and keeps me steady. There's nothing fancy about it, but it works beautifully. I also noticed something interesting. Once eggs became a daily part of my life, I started feeling more satisfied overall. Not just after breakfast, but throughout the whole day. My cravings for bread, sweets, or salty snacks started fading. My meals felt more complete, more balanced. It was like my body was finally getting what it needed to stop sending those constant hunger signals. I started trusting my own hunger again. Eating when I was truly hungry, not because I was riding a sugar roller coaster. Now, eggs are simply non-negotiable in my kitchen. I buy them every week without fail. And whether I'm cooking for myself, for my wife, or for the grandkids when they visit, eggs are always part of the table. It's one of those foods that reminds me how something simple, something people have eaten for generations, can still be one of the smartest choices we make today. And wait until you see the next one, because it's something small but mighty, and it surprised me how much it helps my health every single day. Number 5, leafy greens. If there's one thing that's on my plate every single day, without fail, it's leafy greens. I'm talking about spinach, kale, collard greens, arugula, romaine, any green the first can get my hands on. I used to think salads were something you ordered at a restaurant to be polite or to balance out a burger. I didn't really understand how powerful these greens could be. But when I started making them a daily habit, not just here and there, but every day, something started changing inside me. My energy felt cleaner. My digestion felt lighter. And most importantly, I noticed how my blood sugar stopped swinging wildly like it used to. At first, I wasn't sure how to make greens exciting. A plain salad felt boring and tasteless. But little by little, I figured out ways to make them not just bearable, but something I actually craved. I started tossing fresh spinach with olive oil and lemon. I learned that sautéed kale with garlic could be as satisfying as any side dish. Sometimes I chop romaine and mix it with cucumbers, tomatoes, and a little feta cheese. Simple, fresh, delicious. It didn't have to be complicated. It just had to be consistent. And the more I ate greens, the more my body thanked me. One thing I noticed is that when I have leafy greens with my meals, whether it's lunch or dinner, I feel full without feeling heavy. I used to eat meals that left me stuffed, bloated, and sleepy afterward. But with greens on the plate, everything feels balanced. I walk away from the table feeling satisfied, but not weighed down. It's like my body knows the difference between empty calories and real nourishment. And over time, that difference became clearer and clearer. Not just in how I felt, but in the numbers when I checked my blood sugar too. And let me tell you something. It's not just about salads. Sometimes I throw a handful of spinach into my eggs in the morning. Other times I add chopped kale into a soup or stew. It's easy to sneak greens into almost anything once you start looking for those little opportunities. And what surprised me the most is how much I actually enjoy them now. They went from being an afterthought to being one of the first things I reach for when I open the fridge. It's like my body learned to crave what makes it feel good. Now, leafy greens are simply part of who I am. They're in my shopping cart every week. They're on my plate at almost every meal. And honestly, I can't imagine going a day without them anymore. They remind me that food isn't just fuel. It's medicine, it's energy, it's life. Simple, fresh, humble, but incredibly powerful. And believe me, the next food I'm going to share might be small in size, but it packs a punch when it comes to keeping my body steady, strong, and free from those blood sugar spikes I used to fear so much. Number 4, Beans. If there's one food that completely surprised me with how powerful it is, it's beans. I'll be honest. For most of my life, beans were something I ate now and then, maybe in soups or as a side dish. I never thought of them as something essential, something that could actually help me stay full, satisfied, and support my blood sugar every single day. But when I started including beans regularly in my meals, black beans, pinto beans, lentils, chickpeas, I noticed a huge shift in how I felt. They became this humble little secret that changed everything for me. At first, I wondered if eating beans every day would get boring. But the truth is, they're one of the most versatile foods in my kitchen. Sometimes I add them to salads. Other days, I make a simple bean soup with onions, garlic, and a little olive oil. Occasionally, I mash them up and spread them on toast, almost like a savory spread. And the more I use them, the more I realize how perfectly they fit into every meal. They're filling without being heavy, satisfy without making me feel sluggish, and somehow always comforting. One of the things I love most about beans is how steady they make me feel. You know that feeling when you eat something and 2 hours later, you're hungry again? That used to happen to me all the time. But with beans, that cycle stopped. I could eat lunch with beans, and suddenly it would be dinner time before I even thought about food again. No more sudden crashes, no more shaky hands, no more desperate reaching for snacks. It felt like my body finally had what it needed to stay balanced and calm. Another thing I noticed is how beans help with cravings. Before, I used to crave bread, sweets, salty snacks, anything to fill that constant hunger that never seemed to go away. But once beans became part of my regular routine, those cravings started fading. It was like my body said, "Thank you, this is exactly what I was missing." It's a small thing, but it has a huge impact. I feel more in control of my eating, more balanced, and more at peace with food in general. Now, beans are non-negotiable in my kitchen. I always have some cooked and ready in the fridge, or a few cans in the pantry for busy days. They become this steady, reliable friend that never lets me down. Whether it's a big pot of lentil soup in the winter or a cold chickpea salad in the summer, beans are always there, helping me feel my best, stay strong, and keep diabetes far away. And the next food on my list? Well, let's just say it's small but mighty, and it works wonders in ways I never expected when I first started this journey. Number 3, berries. If there's one thing that brings both joy and health to my plate every single day, it's berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, whatever I can find fresh or frozen. Years ago, I believed the old idea that fruit has too much sugar and that I should avoid it completely. But I later realized that berries are in a completely different category. They're sweet, yes, but they don't behave like other sweet foods. They're gentle on blood sugar, packed with goodness, and honestly, they become one of the brightest, happiest parts of my daily meals. At first, I added berries to my oatmeal, almost like decoration, a few scattered on top. But the more I ate them, the more I noticed how they made me feel. Light, fresh, satisfied. Not heavy, not bloated, and definitely not craving sugar afterward. It felt like giving my body something sweet, but healing at the same time. And when I learned that berries are full of things that help protect my cells, natural colors, fibers, and little compounds that do quiet work inside me, it just made me love them even more. Berries also became my go-to snack. Instead of reaching for cookies or crackers in the afternoon, I grab a small bowl of berries. Sometimes I pair them with a handful of nuts, and that combination feels like magic. It fills me up, satisfies my sweet tooth, but never leaves me feeling guilty or worried about my blood sugar. In fact, I started noticing that on the days I had berries, my craving for junk food completely disappeared. It was like my body said, "Thank you, this is what I was actually needing." I also love how convenient berries are. If they're in season, I buy them fresh. If not, frozen works just as well, and sometimes even better because I can keep them on hand all year round. I throw them into smoothies, stir them into yogurt, or just eat them plain by the handful. They become this little daily ritual that reminds me that eating for my health doesn't have to feel like punishment. It can actually be colorful, joyful, and delicious. Something I look forward to, not something I have to force myself to do. Now, no day feels complete without a handful of berries. They sit proudly in my fridge, ready to brighten my meals and lift my mood. They remind me that nature provides exactly what we need when we choose wisely. Simple, humble, yet incredibly powerful. And while berries bring sweetness to my day, the next food I'm about to share brings something equally important. A source of strength, stability, and satisfaction that's been a game changer in my life since the moment I made it part of my routine. Number 2, nuts and seeds. If there's one little habit that made a huge difference in my daily life, it's adding nuts and seeds to my meals. Almonds, walnuts, pecans, chia seeds, flax seeds. I keep a variety on hand all the time. Years ago, I used to think of nuts as just an occasional snack, maybe something to nibble on during holidays or parties. But once I realized how powerful they are for steady energy, feeling full, and keeping blood sugar stable, they quickly moved from being an afterthought to being a daily essential on my plate. At first, I was cautious. I worried that nuts might be too high in calories or fat. But what surprised me is how a small handful could do so much. When I started adding a few almonds or walnuts to my breakfast, maybe stirred into oatmeal or tossed on top of yogurt, I noticed that I stayed full for hours. No more mid-morning hunger, no more energy crashes. It was like my body finally had the fuel it needed to move steadily through the day, without those sudden dips that used to leave me frustrated and tired. What I love about nuts and seeds is how easy they are to fit into any meal. In the morning, I sprinkle chia seeds into my oatmeal. At lunch, I throw some pumpkin seeds into my salad for a little crunch. In the afternoon, if I need a snack, a handful of walnuts paired with some berries feels both indulgent and nourishing. And when I cook dinner, sometimes I crush a few almonds on top of roasted vegetables. It's simple, but adds so much, both in flavor and in how satisfied I feel after eating. Another thing I noticed over time is how nuts and seeds help calm my cravings. Before, I was the kind of person who always wanted something crunchy or salty in the afternoon. Chips, crackers, pretzels, they were calling my name. But when I started choosing nuts instead, those cravings slowly faded. My body felt more balanced, my hunger felt more natural, and I wasn't constantly battling the urge to snack mindlessly. It's like giving my body what it actually needed, rather than just filling a gap with empty calories. Now, nuts and seeds are as regular in my kitchen as salt and pepper. I buy them every week, keep small jars on the counter, and take little bags with me when I'm out for the day. They become one of those quiet, reliable habits that supports me every single day. And what's beautiful is that they're simple, natural, and accessible. No fancy diets, no complicated recipes. Just real food doing real work in my body. And now, we're down to the last one. Number 1 on my list. It's the food I truly believe made one of the biggest differences in my life since I started this journey. Number 1, olive oil. If I had to pick one ingredient that quietly transformed my health more than anything else, it would be olive oil. Growing up, I never really thought much about the type of oil I used. Sometimes it was vegetable oil, sometimes butter, sometimes whatever was on sale at the store. But when I started paying attention to how I felt after meals, my energy, my digestion, even my blood sugar, I realized that the kind of fat I was using mattered a lot more than I ever imagined. That's when olive oil moved from being just another item in the pantry to being a daily essential in my kitchen. What I love about olive oil is how simple and honest it is. There's nothing complicated about it. It's just pressed olives, pure, natural, and rich in flavor. I started using it for everything. I drizzle it over salads, cook my eggs with it, roast vegetables, and sometimes even use it as a dip with a piece of whole grain bread. And every time I do, it feels like I'm giving my body something that supports me, not something that weighs me down. Meals became more satisfying. Flavors became richer, and surprisingly, my hunger between meals calmed down too. I remember when I first made the switch. I didn't expect to notice much. After all, it's just oil, right? But within weeks, I felt different. My digestion felt smoother. That heavy, sluggish feeling I used to get after meals started disappearing. I wasn't reaching for snacks all the time because my meals actually left me satisfied. And the best part? My blood sugar, which always felt unpredictable, started becoming more stable. I felt like my body was running smoother, almost like giving an engine the right kind of fuel it was waiting for all along. Another thing I noticed is how olive oil changed the way I approach cooking. Instead of frying foods in heavy oils or drowning things in butter, I started focusing on simple preparations. Roasting, sautéing, dressing, nothing fancy, just real ingredients enhanced by a drizzle of olive oil. It made cooking feel easier, healthier, and honestly more joyful. It's one of those little upgrades that didn't feel like a sacrifice at all. In fact, it made my meals taste better, while quietly supporting my health in the background. Now, olive oil is never missing from my kitchen. I buy the best quality I can afford, extra virgin, cold pressed, the good stuff. It's become part of my daily rhythm. From breakfast to dinner, it's always on the table, always part of the process. And every time I pour that golden liquid, I'm reminded that sometimes the simplest choices are the most powerful. This little change has supported me at 68 to feel better, stay strong, and keep diabetes far, far away. And believe me, if it worked for me, it can work for you too. When I look back, I'm honestly amazed at how much my life has changed simply by making these small but powerful choices every day. I didn't go on some extreme diet. I didn't follow complicated rules or cut out everything I loved. I just started adding the right foods to my plate. Foods that truly support my body, that help me stay strong, energized, and keep diabetes far away. And what's beautiful is that none of this feels like sacrifice. It feels like care. It feels like love for this body that's carried me through 68 years and still has so much life ahead. But let me be honest with you. If you're thinking about making changes to your diet, especially if you've been eating a certain way for many years, it's important to do it with care. Our bodies, especially as we get older, can sometimes react when we change things too suddenly. That's why I always recommend speaking with your doctor or a qualified health professional before making any big shifts. They can help guide you, make sure it's safe, and adjust it to your specific needs, especially if you take medications or have other health conditions. I didn't figure this out alone. Along the way, I asked questions. I spoke with my doctor, my nutritionist, and I learned how to listen to my own body, because everyone is different. What works beautifully for me might need small adjustments for you. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. It's about finding the foods that make you feel good, that give you energy, that support your health, and turn them into habits that feel natural and enjoyable. And if you're wondering if it's too late, let me tell you, it's not. It's never too late to start taking better care of yourself. Our bodies are incredible. Even in our 60s, 70s, or beyond, they still respond when we give them what they need. I felt the difference within weeks. More energy, less hunger, clearer thinking, steadier blood sugar, and most importantly, I felt hope again. Hope that I could still be in charge of my health, my future, and how I live these precious years ahead. So if this message speaks to you, start small. Maybe it's adding oatmeal tomorrow morning. Maybe it's tossing a handful of greens on your lunch plate. Or maybe it's finally switching your cooking oil to something better. Whatever it is, just start. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. If this video was helpful, consider giving it a like so more people our age can find this information. Subscribe if you want more tips like this. And most importantly, take care of yourself, because you're worth it.